Hello, friends. I am glad to be here on this. I think it's the second Thursday of March. Am I wrong?
Oh,
It
you're
is.
right.
It's second Thursday of March. I know I am already planning my kids' summer stuff, and I'm like, hold on, slow down. But glad you're here. We are recording this session today. So if you have to drop off or technology fails you, do not worry. We will send you the recording on Monday. As soon as we get everything uh, worked out with the recording and cleaned up, we will get that in your inbox Monday. So we are very glad you are here. If you are new joining us, I do want to let you know that AutoLeap hosts monthly webinars, and we bring in a slew of business coaches in the industry so that you have uh, a lot of different expertise and coaching from all over the industry so that you can choose what suits you best in your business and how you like to learn and grow. So today I have a wonderful friend, Vic Tarasik, who is here from Shop Owner Coach, the owner of Shop Owner Coach, but who also sit on the board over at Apex. And so
Right.
if anyone hasn't gone to Apex, I do encourage you to look at it for this year. This is the third year back in person
Yes, it
since
is.
COVID, and each year it's just gotten better and better. And I know you guys spend a lot of time on building out the education in the session, so I did want to plug that in for you there. But today we are talking about tactics to keep your customers coming back to your shop. So there are so many different tactics, but some of the things that we're going to focus on today are the current customer, right?
Right.
Because just because you have the customer doesn't mean that they're going to keep the customer.
Oh,
Uh, Showing the value in how you operate and why you operate your shop, following up on deferred and annual services. There's some really exciting stuff there. And setting smart goals for your shop that drives customer retention. So we will dive into the various ways shop owners can leverage those tactics. But at the end, we're also going to show you some new things within the AutoLeap platform to help implement those tactics as well. So Vic, I'm really excited for this conversation. This day and age, the buyer is got a mind of their own, right? And so
yeah.
every point that we touch a customer, every point of service that we touch a customer, engage with them, could quite literally make them leave. So being very
True.
mindful and methodical about how we go about those interactions is why we brought you in.
Well, I appreciate you bringing me on, Amber. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the AutoLeap listener today. One of the things to keep in mind, and you know this, Amber, all customers have a choice
Yep.
where they take their vehicle. You have a choice of where you go to a fast food joint, where you go to Starbucks. Everyone has a choice. So we're going to talk about in the automotive shop, in the automotive world, how we can leverage the customer's choice so they continue to choose us.
Mm.
So we're going to cover today a few things. We're going to talk about some new customer data. Their return percent from a brand new customer. How many will we see back in our shop? Ad dollar spent for a first time customer. We're going to look at some strategies of frequency to increase new and existing customers. So we've got some exciting things up ahead. Of course, we're going to, you're going to talk about some AutoLeap features, and I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say about those. I know you shared some of the stuff with me at Vision, and I love what I heard there, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to share with the listeners today. All right, so returning customers are the absolute lifeblood of your business. Long-term customers, they are amazing. When you have a long-term customer, they're loyal. They are so loyal. They've demonstrated to you by coming back. They trust you and your team. They've also said they like you. And to me, this one point is so important. They're less apt to ask you to sharpen your pencil.
Mm.
Initially, when we do business with somebody, we're looking for a deal, typically. But now customers are that way. And shop owners can get that way. Everybody wants a cheap price. Well, they want value. Having more time is valuable, isn't it? Yeah, I would rather have more time,
I
having
would,
more time than money.
yeah.
And if we approach it that way, We understand that the value of that customer is very high. So the sharpening of the pencil is a good one. You're going to have some negotiators come in who are in business, and they're going to want the best deal. And that's okay if they ask it. I don't mind them asking if they don't mind hearing no. But our goal is to convert a first-time customer into a lifelong customer. That is going to be the key. And there's going to be one really eye-opening statistic on what a customer will spend that's up ahead. So I want you to consider this. A new customer that comes to your shop, I call them one and done. The turnover ratio is you're going to lose 51% of every new customer that comes through your door. That is
substantial.
It's huge. It's really huge. And you can do something about that. But this statistic, this goes from, shops who've been around a long time, shops who have really good, customer retention. And it's an average that is unfortunate. And so here's another thing to think about. If you're in a market that's not an area that a lot of people are moving into, that new customer is more than likely someone else's customer that they lost. So with that one and done, they're in the 51% range. And this is another really eye-opening stat. It costs you $300 in advertising dollars to get them to walk through your door before they spend $1 with you.
300 is a lot. I mean, when you think about acquiring a new customer and the average repair order is upwards 500, 300, 500.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've got some clients that their average repair order is 2,500.
Yeah.
So you think that, but the average repair order is now hovering into the $700 range, maybe a little more. Labor rates have gone up substantially over the last year. Parts prices have gone up. So we've seen a pretty good uptick in average repair orders. There's still, and there's some shops out there that are listening to this, and your repair order is $350. And it doesn't take much to move it up a little. A couple tenths here, tire change, a tire rotation, oil service. When you do a tire rotation, you have the opportunity to look at the brakes.
Right.
So it doesn't take much, and we're talking legitimate dollars. But the average repair order is something that a shop owner needs to look at and make sure it's trending in the right direction. So utilizing this figure of $300 in ad spend, say you get 20 new customers a month, statistically you're going to lose 10. Over a year, you have $36,000 in advertising dollars that have been spent to bring customers in that you'll never see. So it's really important and stressing to get that customer to come in for another visit.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to that really quick because we were going to launch a poll.
Oh, you're right.
We're going to launch a poll. So I would love you guys to engage with us. Do you know what % of your customers are returning? So it's simple yes or no, or that you don't have the tools to track that right now. So I don't know if can you actively see what the responses are coming in?
No, I'm not seeing it on my screen. Okay. So you'll need to convey it to me.
I will convey. So right now, 60% of the audience does indeed know the percent.
Good.
There's about 7%, 6% of the audience that doesn't know. They don't have the tools in place.
Okay.
So, but pretty good. Well, I'm glad that you guys do know what percentage are coming back. For those of you that don't or don't have the tools, Vic and AutoLeap can definitely help you track those things.
Great. Thanks, Amber. And for those of you that do know, what I'm about to share with you guys is a huge opportunity. Those of you who don't know and don't have the tools, you want to look at getting those tools in place so that you can track it. It's a critical number because every customer that comes in represents a massive revenue opportunity when you turn them in from a first-time customer into a lifelong customer. National average dollar spent on car repair is $2,000 per vehicle.
Mm.
What's the average number of vehicles that people have in their home is around 2. Some people have a lot more. Some people have, only have one vehicle. So even if you secure one vehicle over the life of that customer, what they're going to spend with you, the lifetime is about 40 years. They're going to spend $80,000 at your shop in their lifetime. And this is not a number that's not adjusted for inflation. So it kind of underscore things. It's critical to know, the first time customers that turn into a second, and it's critical to follow up with them. It's, as my old coach used to say to me, it's only money.
Mm.
I mean, when it comes right down to it, how can a repair shop make an impact in their community? How can they pay their technicians well? How can they have a really nice lifestyle? And I'm not talking extravagant lifestyle. If they don't focus on the dollars, they don't focus on the key critical components on running a business, which is top line revenue and bottom line revenue.
Mm.
So, these are numbers that, some shop owners will shirk away from because, we have a very servant nature that we have when we approach working with our customers. We want to take care of them because we take pride in it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have families and we also have obligations that we can't lose sight of.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's, aside from liking having a hobby to repair cars, most, I would say, got into this industry to help, right?
Right.
And so keeping that in mind is very important.
Yeah. And and that's the key is to not lose sight of what got you into the industry, but understanding that it's okay to make money. I have a friend who's, he's been in the industry for years and he retired. And he was sharing with me one time he was out with some friends when he had his shop. And they all went out to dinner. And these are friends that have been friends for 15 years. And, he was walking over to his car with his wife and his friends stopped and looked and they're like, he's driving a brand new Corvette.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking 20 years ago. And they said to him, it's like, you have a Corvette? Well, that's not right. Why is the mentality that repair shop owners shouldn't be able to afford nicer things? Now, I'm on my soapbox here. I know this isn't a part of it, but it's really a passion of mine to see shop owners make.
For the same reason that they don't want to raise their labor rate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it goes into that, right?
Yeah.
You are worth what you do and you are the expert in what you do. And it's okay to make money because of you're helping people and you're putting their cars back to safety. And the list goes on. And
I love when I talk to shop owners and I'll say to them, it's like, your labor rate's pretty high. And they're like, you know what? I pride myself in having the highest labor rate in my market. I'm cool with that because I know my value. And, unfortunately, sometimes we'll tie our value into how we serve people, but by serving people well, by charging the right amount, bringing the right customers in.
I was going to say the labor rate needs to go also with the service, right? Like
yes.
You don't raise your labor rate and not treat your customers well. Like those can't go hand in hand because they're not going to pay, right? I have an iPhone. Yep. I pay for the service of an iPhone. I like it. And I'm going to continue to pay because the cost doesn't matter because of the service. I'm just using that as an example. So,
you're demonstrating value. If you're good at what you do and you take care of your client better than anybody else, why aren't you the most expensive? Just kind of again, my little chat, my little soapbox there. So let's move back to the presentation. So we're going to go back. So, Amber, I know that you've dated. I know I've dated. And, we're going to lay this out for, the people who are listening that if a new customer comes in, let's treat it like you would in a date. Let's compare the interaction on dating to the first visit of the customer when the customer comes to your shop. In most cases, it's, on a first date, it's coffee, conversation. You're giving each other the sniff test. You're checking them out. Do they like their behavior and and how you act? Do they want more? Customers doing the same thing. When a first-time customer comes to you with an oil service, oil change special, or something small, don't minimize that. don't discount because they didn't buy a lot from you that first time. They're checking you out. They're looking to see, do they trust you? Do they feel comfortable with you? Do they like the staff? And they're looking at the relationship. So you compare it to that first date. It's like, okay, if you pass a sniff test, then you move on to the second date. And second date's dinner, movie, deeper conversation. You're signaling, I want more. And when the customer comes in for that second visit, it's probably going to be months later. They've signaled that they like us. They like the way we operate. And they've also told you this is the beginning of a relationship.
Well, and two, think between the first date and the second date, I would say are very important too, right? Because the first date, you've done a lot of the pre-work, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the second date, these people are like, okay, I no longer have time to look for other repair shops. So I'm going to trust that this potentially is where I'm going to continue to go.
Right.
And not spend that time, right? Time is so valuable to us these days, or any day, really. But
yeah.
And so that's another decision that your customers are making.
Exactly. And this is another interesting statistic. You know how we talked about the $300 in ad spend on getting them to come in the first time? Do you want to know what it is from the first to the second?
What is it?
$10 to $20. It drops dramatically. And typically that's utilizing your CRM, postcards, but it's on an average, it's about, pick it on the high side, $20. So like you nailed it. You're doing the bulk of the work on the front side.
Yep.
And this is where, when the customer comes in on that first visit, you put on your best, everything.
Well, what is the statistic? I mean, and within seconds, somebody makes a decision about you. What is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's within seconds.
It's like 18 seconds at tops. Yeah. It's a really short window. And, I'll talk about it ahead. You never have a second chance to make a first impression. And we'll hit some strategies on when folks first come in. So we go from the second visit or second date to the third date. Well, we know in courting, it's usually a lot longer than, a couple of months. And here, this is probably going to be 6 months. But the third time they're in, it's a lot like popping the question. They're like, okay, should we make this a long-term relationship? They've gotten to the point where they really trust you. They'll buy buy what you suggest. They'll listen to your recommendations. They like how you guys approach doing business with them. And what you've done here is you've laid the groundwork for the long run. And you lay the groundwork for the next step, which is right on the horizon, which is walking down the aisle.
I wish this was that easy in the dating world. I mean, thank God I'm not dating.
No, I know. I wouldn't want to be dating today, but I dated a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's not fun. And you know what? Been married 40 years, and I'm like a lifetime customer.
Created stickiness there.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of, I know this is kind of a risky thing to, look it up against dating, but they kind of go in line. So the fourth visit in, this is what's important for everyone to listen to. That fourth visit, that customer comes to your shop. They've said, we're committing to you for life. And it might have been 6, 8 months, a year, but that fourth visit into your shop, they said, okay, we're going to tie the knot. And now it's so important for you to remember this. They are yours to lose. You've got to do something pretty bad for them to walk out your door. And especially when you violate trust, and trust is one of those things that's in your control. So how do we go from first to the fourth? Well, here we go. So customers, they do business with us because they know, they like, and they trust us. That's kind of the foundation of how we should approach doing business. Are we personable? Are we warm? Are we friendly? Are we warm? Warmth is the key. As a technician, turn advisor, turn shop owner, I could be pretty prickly behind the counter, because I might have a problem in the shop that's really bothering me and I'm trying to fix it. And at the same time, I was in my early days, I was the tech, I was the owner, I was the service advisor, I swept the floors. And if I didn't change from the time I came to the back to the front and put on my people hat, I ran the risk of losing a customer. No matter what's going on behind the door, you've got to smile.
Mm. Well, and I told you this yesterday, right? I have a new motto of door frames. And so every single door frame that I walk into, I have to be present, right? So
Right.
just like you're saying, the baggage that comes with us from the back of the shop, the front of the house, you need to be mindful that those customers that you're servicing, quite frankly, this is going to sound harsh, don't care what just happened in the back of the house, right?
No, they don't.
They don't care.
Right.
And so giving them the level of service that they deserve, no matter what is going on, is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. They will start to care as they get to know you. They will start to know who you're about, and you build the relationship beyond the transaction.
Yeah.
And so it's okay for them not to care, because honestly, when you go to a Kohl's or to, you get on Amazon and order something, do you care about the person you're buying from? Not really. You're buying a product.
Mm-hmm.
So in the early days, it's just buying a product. And that's why it's so important to establish that warm relationship with your customer and being personable, because the more personable you are, the more relational you are, the tighter the bonds become. And we'll hit this on the upcoming slide, more sticky points you have. And here's something to remember too, Amber, is I want everybody to hear this most importantly. Trust is the foundation of building a relationship with your client. And everything you do signals they can or can't trust you. And there's two things that are totally in your control: when the car was promised and if the estimate was accurate. Now, I know that we see parts delays. Things happen. But if a customer shows up at 5 o'clock and you told them their vehicle will be ready at 5, and the parts house called you at 10 in the morning and said the part wasn't going to be in until tomorrow, you have the opportunity to pick up the phone and call them and let them know the part isn't going to be in. So you have adjusted the expectations. But when you set that expectation, your advisor or you as an owner set the expectation with your customer, it will be ready at this time. You stay in communication and you fill what you committed to.
Yeah.
And the other component is the accurate estimate. When the customer shows up, was everything approved prior to them coming in? Those two things, if an advisor does those two things, vehicle's ready when promised, and an accurate estimate, they will be a hero in the customer's eyes. And the last thing I'll say on this is under promise and over deliver. Mm. And so I'll ask you guys to think about this as Amber's getting ready to put up another poll. How does you and your team measure up on those things?
It is up. So are you delivering on-time services? Yeah. I used to work for a company called Meeting Expectations.
Okay.
And it would always be a joke that, like, why aren't you exceeding expectations, right? And so it is always like, what is that next thing that we can do to exceed the customer expectations?
Yeah. Because if you endeavor to exceed expectations, you will. Mm-hmm. Well, and Henry Ford's famous quote, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. If you don't think you're going to exceed the expectations, you won't ever be able to. But if you give yourself the room to exceed them and think and look into yourself, you will be able to exceed them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, another question is, what are your customers' expectations? Have you asked?
That is such a great question. I mean, I think we all live our life with assuming people know our expectations, right? And we assume things on other people that they cannot ever get done or do. So don't assume that you know your customers' expectations just because they need their brakes changed.
Or they might be dropping a vehicle off at 9 in the morning and they're headed to the airport. And in your mind, you're like, I can't get to it until Friday. Well, did you ask the customer when they need the vehicle back? Now, if you ask them if they want it done today every customer will say what?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't paint yourself in the corner. If you don't ask the question if you can't do it. So how did our poll turn out?
All right. So thankfully, 89% said yes. We
Good.
did have 11% saying no.
Okay, good.
And
All
I'm
right.
sure, but that's a minimal amount, and things
Right.
happen, right?
Yeah.
Life happens. So we will.
Yeah, just endeavor that 11%, just endeavor to do what you can to make those two things happen. And under promise, over deliver. Keep that in mind. Under promise and over deliver. Okay, we're gonna talk about a tree frog, and it's like, what the heck does a tree frog have to do with automotive service? Well, if we think about it, us guys, we've all played with frogs. Now, I almost guarantee you, every guy listening to this who's picked up a tree frog, yeah, well, we've thrown them the glass to see if they stick, and they do. So at the end of the tree frog's little leg, he has all these little sticky points that allow them to climb, hang, jump, and stick under a variety of conditions. High winds, not like you guys ever see any hurricane force winds over there, but you have tree frogs in your area, and they'll stick. They're not going anywhere. So the question that I have for everyone is, I went one too far. I apologize. Is what sticky points do you have, and what are you creating for your customers, new and existing? And you're like, okay, what's a sticky point? And we'll talk about that, because sticky points are kind of cool because it's things that you can create. So
I would love the audience, before we move forward, even just in the chat, to tell us what they think their sticky points are. So maybe you know what they are, maybe you don't, but I would love to see some engagement there, and we can keep going, and I'll pose them later.
Love to hear. Yeah, definitely love to hear them. So sticky points, they're the reason you stand out, and it's a way to connect. Greeting the customer, whether it's on the service drive, whether it's at the door, everyone's shop's configuration is a little bit different. But at our shop, we had a glass window. We could see the customer pulling in from 40 feet away. We meet them on the drive, open the door for them, welcome them to our shop. Would you let your a friend of yours come over to your house, Amber, knock on the door and not open it with a smile?
No.
Yeah, you're glad they're there.
Mm.
And the same thing with the customer. You are glad they're there. You greet them with a really warm smile. You want to have a really nice reception area. And it doesn't have to be a reception hall or reception, like a garage mahal type reception area. Just got to be clean and orderly, smells nice, have, up-to-date magazines that, are like people or gardening, home and garden, those kind of things, no newspaper, no time, none of that kind of, anything that's dealing with current events. So keep your reception area nice and clean, drinks, coffee, and keep that clean. And Amber, this, bathroom's got to be spotless. Yeah. Because your lady customers are going to be the ones, they make about 87% of the buying decisions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And I have this one story. I won't share it now, but it's an interesting story. I had a big old 6'6" cowboy. His 5'2" wife won over whether they're going to put tires on the vehicle or not. And he was in control.
Somebody else said clean bathroom for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Clean. Yeah. You don't understate the smell. Don't understate cleanliness of the bathroom. And just ensure that that's one more thing people remember you for. Now, this one here this is another sticking point. Sticky point is listening. When a client shows up at your counter, and I'm speaking mainly to service advisors and technicians who are now behind the counter. Your customer comes in, they're talking to you about this rumble as they go around the right-hand turn. Now, you know what it is. It's more than likely a left-hand wheel bearing. It doesn't matter. the customer, they have a transportation issue. They're dropping their vehicle off. They want you to listen to what their issue is. They want you to write it down. And it's maybe kind of selfish. They don't want to repeat themselves.
Mm.
Nothing can be more frustrating than having to repeat yourself because you weren't listening. You want to make an impact in the customer's mind that they listen. There was this 180-year-old gentleman. He always had, a very, nice looking young woman with him out to dinner. And he always, go to these restaurants and always, nice looking women. And finally somebody stopped one of the ladies and they're like, what do you see in this guy? And they're like, he listens. Amber, when you have a problem at the house, you want your husband to listen, not solve the problem right away.
Yeah, he calls it selective listening. So that's talk for another day.
Yeah, it's like, Marlene too, she said to me, I don't want you to fix the problem. I want you to just listen to me. I'm like, okay, because I'm a fixer. So just resist your internal fixer, write the information down, make certain you have all of it accurately, and never hesitate to ask this last question. Is there anything else on the vehicle that the vehicle is doing that you haven't thought to tell me? Now you've created one more opportunity for you to look at. So shop tour, we'll talk about shop tour.
I think we have a poll before we move on.
Oh, the poll before we move. Okay.
We can launch that poll. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, we are effective listeners when our customers talk about needed services on their cars. And while they are answering that, somebody else said one of their sticky points is consistency.
Yes.
I love that. Yep.
Inconsistency breeds distrust.
Yep.
Yeah. And gold star to you that said consistency. That's outstanding.
Yeah. So it looks like we've got some good effective listeners here.
Good.
We've got some that maybe need to work on their effective listening. So go from selective to effective.
There you go.
So about 21% are at the 3,
Okay.
4 are at the 37% are at 4.
Great.
And we're actually tied between the 4 and 5.
Okay, good.
37%. So looks like we've got some good listeners, but I think that's something that everyone can always improve upon.
Oh, true. Always. Well, yeah, now I really wish we'd have had that question I was going to have at the end on the listening, and that would have allowed our people who were really good listeners to win that $1,000.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you're listening really well, I'll give you $20 for Amazon. That's it. Somebody else said bathroom. So we've got a good sticky point.
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So shop tour, we'll talk about shop tour ahead. So that's a really cool point. Other sticky points: community involvement, hobbies, interests that you have in common. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm living in Houston now. And one of the things that bonded me to a lot of our clients was I was from the Northeast, and Amber, you said yesterday, if those of us who are from New York, in New York, we don't really care that we know each other, but you get out another part of the state or another country, and it's a connection. It's an unspoken bond.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have on your wall, I call it a wall of fame, pictures with your employees, they have little bios, where they're from, what their interests are. It doesn't have to be extensive. And if anybody wants a sample of a bio, have them email me, because I'll send them a sample of one. It's really easy to do. I had my favorite sports team, Buffalo Bills, up there. And I had people that say, oh my gosh, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan too. And of course, this is before they started doing really well. They were one of the worst teams in the league. But we commiserated with one another around the team that we love. So it's important that you have things about you and your team that people can connect with.
Well, I think you humanize yourself, right?
Yep.
I mean, because the people that are walking in, your customers that are walking in, don't know how to fix cars, right? So you are already putting yourself in a different bucket, right? And so you are just regular Joes as much as this customer is. And so humanizing yourself and being able to make those connections is exactly how you create sticky customers.
Exactly.
And the reverse, right? Making sure that you are noting these types of interactions within your management system, and so that you have those points moving forward so that you can continue those conversations.
Birthdays, kids' names, spouse names. There's all kinds of things that you can note on a customer. And the more interest you take in your customer, the more interest they take in you, and the tighter that bond becomes. So it goes kind of tied all the way back to slides before, going from being the first visit to the fourth visit. And then once you get there, don't ignore the fact that they're an existing customer. They went from new to existing, and don't ignore them. And I might touch on that up ahead. So there's a lot more community involvement can't be understated. Things that you do to work within your community, whether it be volunteer at a PTA or volunteer at a food bank. Let people know what you do and what you care about. You really care about the environment, part of an environmental group. It does create a bond. Okay, so let's talk about the shop tour. The shop tour to me is a really fun one, simply for this reason: is that you've taken a lot to build your shop. You take pride in it, and it was from wherever it was at the beginning to today, you're very proud of it. So now it's this really simple way to show your customer the things that you do, what your capabilities are, and what your shop looks like. You go behind the counter. You get away from the transactional nature of the dropping the vehicle off. If you think about it too, you at the counter, you have a barrier between you and the customer. But when you go out in the shop together, what are you doing? You're walking alongside them. They're walking alongside you. To an extent, it's a psychological equals, and there's no barrier between. And what happens is you start to show them who you guys are. You get to know you and your team. They get to see the equipment that you have. You get to highlight, some of the services you do, things that they may not know you do. And I think you shared this yesterday, and I want you to talk about that in a sec. So about what we talked about behind the door, but it's an easy way. More than anything, it's a really easy way to hear what your customer values in a repair shop, to hear what they need, for them to see what to kind of create another bond with you, another sticky point. And it's a great way to hear what are their habits. Do they have kids in college, kids going to college, kids returning from college? Maybe you have a new driver in the family. Are they going away for Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving? These are opportunities. You want the best for your customer. You don't want them to break down, and neither do they. So it's a great opportunity to schedule something up ahead. But you get to know them, and they get to know you, and the barriers begin to drop. The familiarity begins to start. So I was
the barriers, right? And if you're okay with me sharing now,
yeah,
I mean, please. I go to my shop, local here in Georgia, beautiful shop. And so when you sit there, they have charging tables. They have a coffee station. It's a really nice lobby station or area. And then behind the desk, I can see into the, I would say probably service advisors or office staff, whatever the case may be, but there's some business desks back there, so I can see there. But when we talk about breaking down walls and building an industry that is really mistrusted, right? I mean, so I know that I personally sit in the lobby and wonder what's going on behind in the shop, right? It's the unknown. You're breaking down the unknown and the fear and the mistrust, right? By allowing them, you're welcoming them into your space. So at least they can visualize. I'm a very visual person. So even if I just walk through once, right, through the shop, I can sit in the lobby and I know exactly where my car potentially is. I could understand what's going on, the workflow. I know the staff that's back there. And it does allow you to kind of put your fear and the unknown at ease. So I would love, I'm actually going to ask them to give me a shop tour. I did ask our attendees if they do it. And so John had mentioned he does do shop tours.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. And hats off that he does, because shop tours they are probably the single easiest way to build a bond with a customer on day one. And what's even more reciprocal, your employees get to see the personal side of the customer. They attach a face with the vehicle. It's not a Chevy truck. It's Mrs. Smith's truck or Mr. Smith's truck. And it's, again, it's another way of creating sticky points. So, if you don't know how to do it, there's a lot of ways to do it. And Amber, I think we talked about it yesterday, offering up, an hour seminar. I'd love to do, 10 or 15 slots. Be happy to do one in the evening with you guys and walk you through what it's like to do a shop tour, how to improve upon it, even if you are doing them. I'd say this is my number one thing I recommend to all of our clients, and we had great success with it too.
I love that.
All right, so let's talk about existing customers. We're going to shift our focus to who I call your best customers. Your best customers are the ones you currently have. And the reason they're your best customers is because after the first visit, they're yours to lose. We don't want to lose sight of them. We don't want to lose sight of them at all. Some shops are in this major acquisition where they spend tons of money on advertising to get new customers, and they'll spend 75% of their ad budget on acquiring new customers and 25% on maintaining the relationship with existing customers. And really, it's supposed to be the other way around. You put 25% of your ad budget in place to acquire new customers, and you maintain that 75%. We want to take care of what's already ours. We don't want us to lose sticky points with that customer, and now that customer that was ours is now somebody else's.
Right.
So they make up a ton of your sales. They know, they trust you, and more than anything is I want to encourage you, please don't take them for granted. So a couple of questions is, when they showed up at your shop, were you pleasant? And I call present. Were you smile? Were you in the moment, or were you distracted? Nothing's worse than talking to a customer and being busy with something else, and not having you're not having
Attention.
them not having your full attention. Thank you. Nothing frustrates me more when I'm talking to somebody and they pick up their phone and they start texting somebody. It's like, I'm like, I'll finish my thought later. It's not that important. And sometimes we don't realize we do it. So do you repair the vehicle right the first time? We say we do, and mistakes do happen. But is there a quality control element in place to ensure the vehicle is repaired right the first time? Did they have to come back? If you leave a tool in the vehicle and it gets, and it's happened at our shop, but my techs left a scanner in the vehicle, customers had to bring it back. I still consider that a comeback. And some people may call that harsh, but it's because we value the customer's time. That's why we call it a comeback. Are you doing digital inspections on every vehicle? And are you applying the 300% rule?
I didn't know what the 300% rule was yesterday. So can you tell everybody what that is?
Absolutely. The 300% rule is very simple. You inspect 100% of the vehicles that come into your shop. And you inspect 100% of that vehicle. That's the first 100%. The second 100% is you estimate, as an advisor, you estimate everything the technicians found. And you rate it on a level of, severity as far as repairs. The third 100% is you present everything that the second 100% of what was found and estimated to the customer, and allow them to make the decision. There should be no have-tos. You're merely a counselor when it comes to repairs. So follow that 300% rule, because what you'll do is it'll allow you to pre-book the next appointment. If you present, so much repairs to the vehicle, the customer's going to do probably half of that. That's average, 50 to 60%. Our target at our shop was 65% of the service. And then you're going to have an element of deferred services, things that they didn't want to do then, or they maybe not need to be done. Well, you can then pre-book the next appointment, 3-5 months, whatever's convenient, just like going to the dentist.
And we go favorite place.
Yeah, I know. No one likes to go to the dentist, just like no one likes to come for car repair.
But it's a necessity.
It
right?
is.
It's a
Right.
necessity.
Yeah. But making, but making it as frictionless and easy as possible will enable us to make that visit a lot less challenging for the customer. Just like going to the dentist. I have a dentist. When I get done, the next appointment's already booked when I walk up to pay for it. So, let's be present, fix it right the first time. Inspections, and book that next appointment. Okay, so marketing. Let's talk about some marketing, because these are effective ways to get your customer back in the door. So seasons. So Amber, how many seasons are there?
Well, you asked me this yesterday, so it was a trick question, and I still don't know. 4 seasons. There's
Four
four
seasons. Exactly.
technical seasons, but
4 technical seasons. Exactly. So there's 4 technical seasons. And what's nice is these seasons we know they come every year. But I like to talk about non-traditional seasons. And while we have spring, summer, fall, winter in every single market, and some places are more severe than others. Down in the South, our summers are hot. Up north, the winters are cold. But in between those, you have non-traditional. You have really tax season's one. People get refunds, and they're looking to spend that money someplace. We have going to school, back to school. We have Christmas break. We have New Year's. We have Christmas. We have Easter. We have 4th of July. We have Memorial Day. We have summer travel season.
Yeah.
And there's so many marketing opportunities when you start thinking about the variety of seasons that are out there. Don't just stick with those. And what's cool is people know, they talk back to school, they talk summer, they talk vacation. And so you're already kind of set up to put out some seasonal specials. Again, don't get stuck to the 4.
I love that, especially for travel seasons, right? Summertime,
Yep.
Are you taking your family on a trip this summer? Make
Right.
sure your tires are safe, or
Right.
whatever the case is.
Yeah. AC, up north, it's winterized. We need to make sure we winterize our vehicles. That's normal. I mean,
I need an AC here in Atlanta. So.
Exactly. And so it's really important to not tie your seasonal features. And you notice I didn't say seasonal discounts. So when you go out to a restaurant and they ask you, you want to hear our features for tonight? It's not discounted. It's just, that's what they're featuring. So kind of keep that in mind. So dollars off deferred service is a way, if you have something that you really want to come in, get some dollars off deferred service, and then a referral program for new customers, existing customers, referral new customers. So it's just a few more loyalty programs. You have customer loyalty programs, personalized follow-up, owner calling. Social media presence is huge. It's absolutely vital. You have to have a very active social media presence. It's critical you have one going on. You can, educational events, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. You have a local PTA for the parents. Mom, dad, who's ever in the PTA, bring them up. You might have a new driver. It might be a high school that's nearby. Flexible payment options, that interest-free financing. There's programs out there that offer interest-free financing. Don't do in-house financing. You're not a bank. You repair cars. And then lastly, accept all major credit cards. So reducing friction, and then we're going to move into your segment. So reducing friction is really simple. The lower the obstacles are to doing business with you, the more the shop is likely to see that customer return, because they're going to remember the ease of doing business. Do you have a lockbox where they can pick up their vehicle after hours? Do you have text to pay? Is it, do you have appointments? Can you make appointments online? Digital menu boards. What do digital menu boards do for us? They advertise services for us while the customer's at the counter. DVI is what I consider reducing friction, because you're inspected the vehicles to determine, does it need anything? Because the last thing a customer wants to say to you is, I just had my car at your shop. So if you advise them and they choose not to do it, well, it's not on us, right? Mm-hmm. And then pre-scheduling deferred work.
I love that. I think, and the other thing, we talked about when we were prepping for this, there are so many tools to make these, and we'll go into what AutoLeap can do and what other tools can help you do these things. But just a reminder that technology can help you do things to take out the friction, but it does not
Right.
take out the personal touch points that you have to continue to carry throughout the way, right?
Exactly.
The entire message of this session is the personal relationship that you are building and creating with your customers. And sometimes we all have life and it's just hard. And sometimes we can't be that exact person that we need them to be or that we were last time.
Right.
But it's being present in that moment and remembering that no matter what door we walk through or what customer comes in through our door, they expect the same level of service.
And I like to say this is, automate and depersonalize at your own risk, because people will get an email that says thank you, but when they get a thank you card or a thank you phone call, it's, you're head and shoulders above the rest. I shared with you, I had a surgery a number of weeks ago. The surgeon called me himself Sunday night before surgery to ask me if I had any questions or any concerns. And he's a very busy surgeon. So he didn't hand it off to his team. He did it himself.
Well, but see, there's the beauty in that, right? Because, and this is the beauty that everyone on this call and in this industry has the opportunity to do, is to minimize the fear, minimize the mistrust, right? And that is on your surgeon, right? And he understands that in the profession that he is in. This isn't something that you do every single day. You don't go into surgery, you don't go under the knife, you're not, on medicine.
Right.
And don't, regular people don't go into an auto repair shop and know what the heck the noise is making that's rattling, right?
Exactly.
It's the same type of situation. And most of the time, the fear that's building is because, one, they have to get somewhere, right? They're relying on their car to make them a living. They're relying on their car to get their children from point A to point B.
Right.
And so reducing that friction and that fear is exactly what we're trying to help. That's what you do. And there are tools that help you do that.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
are you ready for me?
Yes, I am. That's why I got your slide up for you.
All right. Well, I'm going to make this super quick and not, completely salesy, but AutoLeap will help you do a lot of these things that we've talked about on the phone and creating less friction for you. So everything from scheduling appointments online, AutoLeap does that for you. We also even help create your website and do your search engine optimization and social media management. So I don't know if a lot of people know that, but we do that for our customers. So where we really find ourselves different in the industry is having the marketing module within AutoLeap, right? Most other systems, you're going to have to carry a different tool for the marketing module to be included or engage with your shop management software. So this is just one software. My dog is coming to say hello. One management software, one thing. So everything from scheduling that appointment to promotional campaigns that we were talking about, right? And follow-up campaigns. Those are done within AutoLeap. So all of the customer history, all of that data on the vehicle and the deferred services, those are things that can be set up within AutoLeap by filters, right? So we talked about the filters. Let's just say they deferred a service and you want to touch that customer in 3 months or whatever the case may be. You can set thresholds and filters so that the system will automatically populate those campaigns on the back end to help you create sticky customers and more revenue. The other part that's part of AutoLeap is just the texting, that SMS, right? So let's just say the parts aren't coming in, like you said, Vic. I can text my customer. Of course, I can pick up the call, but I can just text them and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm going to give you a call later, but the parts are running late and I'm going to keep you in the loop. And it's just an in-the-house text message. So this was just an example of one of the campaigns that we ran seasonally, tire special for one of our customers who has seasonal tires and campaigns running. And you can see the amount of revenue generated just within, I think it was a week and a half span on some of these. The amount of appointments that were generated from these, where it came from, the type, so the text message, and who it came from. So there's a lot of tools that we have within AutoLeap, and I think we're going to post a poll really quick to see how you guys are currently reaching out. How do you reach out to your customers directly on an annual or deferred services? Do you do it by phone, email, text, or mailers? The mailers are, there's a lot of talk about those coming back, but that is an expense, right? When we talk about that, new customer acquisition is $300 per customer.
Yeah, you've got, if you're new mailers, you got to be in it for a long haul.
Yeah.
Don't do a mailer, expect it results overnight.
Yeah. So we've got majority, which I love this. Okay, so we're tied between text and email. Email is winning a little bit. The phone call, surprisingly, is minimal. But I guess if you have a system that's automating this for you, that would make sense, right?
If you have the time, it's always good to confirm the customer is going to be in the next day by phone.
Yeah.
It's it's one thing you if you know they're coming in, or if you know they're not. If you know they're not, then you can free up the space. You can also send out an email or a text message blast to fill that slot. It's all about being efficient in selling the number of hours of your labor inventory that's out in the shop.
Yeah, I agree. And creating that the touch along the way. So I love all of this. I think that's the last of the slides for us, but bringing it together. There you go.
I guess bring it together. Track your new customer habits. When were they in last? Follow up with them. Set a goal. More than anything, set a goal for each successive visit. When do you want to see them in? Remember, after the fourth visit, they're yours for life. And that fourth visit could translate them into an $80,000 lifetime customer. Define and focus on your sticky points and use the tools in your SMS and marketing resources to remain connected more than you remain connected to your customers.
I love, and I think, I don't remember if I heard you say this, but I was listening. Don't forget that after the fourth visit, they are your customer to lose. So just because you have them doesn't mean that you can keep them, and you can't, just like, right, when you're dating, you get married, and after 40 years, you stop really dating, right? Like you have to continue to keep that momentum and keep things alive. I have two questions that came in. Great job, Vic. Shop tour is a great idea. So I would love to know next time if people implement the shop tour, and then we'll get you back on for those who haven't done shop tours, how to efficiently and effectively do those to keep customers coming back. So Vic, I love the way you coach. I know that it's very near and dear to my heart, keeping relationships at its core.
Yes.
Money is great, but the relationship lasts longer, and it will keep customers coming back. So you got to remember that at the end of the day, we're in this for relationships and helping people.
Right.
And I love that that's how you coach. So I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, we will send out the follow-up afterwards. There is a poll that's about to be launched, and in that poll, I think it does ask if you would like Vic to reach out to you or be introduced. So thank you so much, everybody, for staying on. And somebody else said, thank you. I picked up some really great reminders today.
Oh, cool. So, well, thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
I love that. All right. If there's no more questions, thank you, Vic. We ended right on time. That's phenomenal.
That was my goal, is to nail it on time. I appreciate the opportunity. Well, I gotta say, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate the audience out there and their interaction and feedback. It means a lot.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, have a great day. If you don't know already, we are running a conference at the end of the month. So make sure to go to our website and you can check out everything that we've got going on there. Vic, have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Amber. You too.
Bye.